unfamiliar setting for me, and I don't know how to operate with Mike. We went down to the circuit clerk's office to see if they would provide somebody that does, and we'll do the best we can. If you can't hear, raise your hand and we'll try to speak louder. And that goes to the people in the audience who would like to make comments. If anybody can't hear what they're saying, if you'll raise your hand, hopefully they'll speak louder. We'll do the best we can without a microphone. We're going to get and start a little bit behind schedule anyway, and we want to get the item discussed and a vote taken or whatever we need to do. I thought we'd start the meeting off with Mike Costello. Is he here?
Yep.
I don't know him. He has been to the county commission several times before, and he has presented the item for the birthplace of Rivers as a national monument. He knows most of the information and the details, and we're going to let him introduce the information, and then we're going to open it up for comments from anyone in the audience. We will give everybody an opportunity to speak. The only thing you have to do is raise your hand when the person finishes prior to. You'll recognize one person at a time, and that's the way we'll conduct it. So, Mr. Costello, maybe if you don't mind coming up front.
Sure.
Make sure everybody can hear you. Appreciate your comments and maybe what organizations you represent and who made this a part, or who came up with the notion of making this national monument.
Okay. Yeah, and thanks to the commission for having us back, and thanks to everybody for coming out today. I think this is a really important conversation that we're having, that we've been having through the last year or so. And you know, every time we've come to the county commission meeting, we've said that, you know, these concerns, especially a lot of concerns about the traditional land uses, especially with regard to hunting and fishing and trapping, are incredibly important, and are incredibly important to this proposal as it moves forward. And you know, this has always been a concept and something that we want to continue to define. We want to work together with everybody in this room and everybody in the county to make sure that what we come up with is something that we can all get behind. I mean, this is something that I think has a lot of benefits. I think it has a lot of benefits. You know, for me, just as an outdoorsman who grew up coming into this area and falling in love with this area, coming from a place called the Chemical Valley, we don't have streams that are this clean, we don't have forests that are this. You know, I think that's a really common story in West Virginia, where when you come from places like Charleston or Wheeling, and this is our common ground. I mean, this is such a special place that all West Virginians are so proud of. And I think that, you know, there's a really good opportunity here for us to make sure that this area is preserved and that it stays the way it is, so that all of us can continue to know and love this area just the way that we've been able to, and we can pass on these traditions. And you know, this has always just been, you know, a concept. We think that, you know, the idea has a lot of benefits, but we want to continue to hone it. And we've been, for the last 5 months or so, we've been trying to work with the West Virginia DNR to get some input about, you know, what the management scheme or what the boundaries would look like. And soon we're going to open up a series of public meetings here in Pocahontas County, and we're going to get some input. We're going to get some input on boundaries, and we're going to get some input on the management recommendations. And we're going to come up with this together. And I think that, you know, all of us in this room, we should, you know, look at each other and understand that we have the best intentions here, and that we're not trying to, you know, step on anybody's property rights, or we're not trying to stop anybody's hunting. And in fact, this is a place where, you know, we want to be able to pass on those traditions to future generations. So, you know, this is it's a coalition that you know, started on this monument concept. My organization, we traditionally worked on things like wilderness designation. It was very strict, but we wanted to broaden that coalition. And after we worked on our last campaign, we broadened that coalition. We brought on board folks like West Virginia Trout Unlimited. We have some folks here from Trout Unlimited today, and you know, to them this is incredibly important. I mean, the birthplace of rivers, there's 6 important trout fisheries that start up there in this potential area, and you know, it's got a lot of potential for us to keep, you know, strengthening our partnerships. Organizations like mine and the and Trout Unlimited continue to work together. And the mountain bikers, who we've had a lot of disagreements with, my organization, I mean, they're one group that's come into the table in a collaborative process and saying that we like this idea, it could be good, but we're not just going to support it, we're going to support it if our interests are taken care of. And I think that that's the opportunity that all of us have here. And that's what I want you to keep in mind, is to know that the invitation is open to all of you, to come to these meetings, and we're going to schedule them, probably look for late January or early February. We're going to have a series of 4 or 5 or however long it really takes. I mean, to us, it's more about making sure that we can get it right. And I mean, there are people here that I really respect their opinion. I know we disagree on a lot of stuff, but that's okay, right? Because we're all West Virginians and we all love this landscape, and we have so much in common. And it's such a shame that a lot of this has become so divisive because we sort of don't have a lot of trust in each other's intentions or whatever the issue is. But I think there's a lot of opportunity going forward, and I think that the county has a big opportunity to help us define what this is, and that's I think what you've done so far with the actions you've taken. And you wrote just the most solid letter that David and Jamie together and Martin came up with in November or December to clarify this information, to make sure that we'll always be able to hunt and fish, and we'll always be able to do activities like stock trout or lime streams, or that the management will be flexible enough to manage for timber restoration or wildlife management, some of those activities that might not be allowed in the wilderness, but we want to see continue in this area. So I guess that's where I might, kind of leave off. I mean, I want to hear a lot from other folks, and I know you do too. And I think regardless of what happens today, we as a coalition are moving forward with this, and we're going to continue to move forward, and hopefully we'll move forward with your input, because I want folks here to be able to come and have the same conversation that Trout Unlimited had and say, here's what we want in the process. Here's what we think will make it good enough that we can support it. And there's a lot of common ground to be found, and I think that, when we look at some of the past issues that we've dealt with that have been so divisive, this is one that we can all rally around, and I hope we will.
Why don't you quickly define the entire situation, like what a wilderness designation is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Okay, so wilderness designation is the most strict, most protected designation that applies to federal lands. Cranberry Wilderness right now is the largest national forest wilderness area in the east. It's around 48,000 acres or so, and we've looked at the wilderness area being pretty special, but being surrounded by a lot of really special features that we think would make a really nice, preserved, promoted complex that could be very beneficial in a number of ways to this county, to all of West Virginia. So we're looking at, we've essentially drawn a big circle around some areas that we think deserve to be under consideration. And like I said earlier, with boundaries and everything, nothing's set in stone here. We're all kind of still working it out. And but we've looked at this complex as special features, and when you look at Cranberry Wilderness kind of as a core that's surrounded by all these places, you've got places like Falls of Hills Creek and the Cranberry Glades and the Scenic Highway and Tea Creek Backcountry, and there are so many rivers that do begin there, giving it the name Birthplace of Rivers. It's just a place that to us was so special that it was so compact, and we could draw a boundary around it that didn't include private lands and would still be managed by the Forest Service, and wouldn't really infringe on the other developmental activities that go on elsewhere in the county or on the national forest. So we tried to draw something that was a real win-win. It's not perfect, and we need some help refining it, and that's what I want to have a little bit of help in.
And how does the designation of a monument impact upon that?
Sorry about that?
How does the designation as a monument impact upon that?
So the designation of a monument is similar to a designation like wilderness or a national recreation area or something that's legislated, in that it becomes a little bit more permanent than what the designation currently is right now. Right now, these places are managed in a temporary way that's subject to future administrative changes. So, the areas like backcountry areas up Tea Creek, Turkey Mountain, maybe they won't always be backcountry areas, but we would like to ensure that they'll always be able to be backcountry areas so that, we can do the same things there we've been able to do and pass these opportunities on to future generations. And it solidifies the management a little bit more, I guess, than these temporary designations that are always subject to administrative change. And, a lot of folks think that this land will never change. It's fine, and it's just the way it is right now. It's always going to be that way. But we don't know that, and that's why we do this work, and that's why we build these coalitions to try to keep the lands the same way. And as an example, 2 weeks ago, some members of Congress thought the solution to deal with the fiscal cliff was to sell off a bunch of national forest land. Well, personally, I don't think that's a good strategy, and I want to make sure that this land is national forest land forever, and that those trout streams are as good as they are forever, so that my kids, my grandkids can experience the same thing that I was fortunate to experience as a West Virginian growing up and coming to this place.
Just one correction, when you were given the definition of national monument, you said that it was an area that was legislated.
It can be, yeah.
It's not legislated, it's an edict handed down by the president. It does not go through the legislative process.
Can't hear.
So Colley's point was that national monuments aren't necessarily legislated. I use the example of wilderness or national recreation areas, being a legislated designation, therefore more permanent. So national monuments, more often than not, are created by presidential proclamation. Paul is absolutely right. There have been about 40 national monuments that were created by legislation, so it can happen either way. And we really prefer to work with our congressional delegation on this so that we can come up with something pretty solid. Whether or not it actually passes Congress, we want them to take the lead on it and respond to what we come up with.
What's the national forest thing about it?
Well, I think that they haven't necessarily taken a position on it yet.
And in front of them and ask them?
We've had a series of meetings, and that's why I said they haven't taken a position yet, because we've been trying to get some feedback, and I think that there are probably a lot of mixed feelings within the forest system.
The Forest Service cannot make policy. They do not make policy. They do whatever the upper people tell them.
Right. And they can, however, give us some
They
some
can't
good
go one way or
feedback.
the other.
Yeah, you're right.
Now, I've listened to you speak, we have another article out here, and I don't know how the majority is saying, but I would like to see a vote at the end of the thing with the commissioners at least. But my question to you, I've been here for 77 years. It's so great. Now, why do we want to change it?
We don't want to change it. We want to keep it just the way it is. So that
Well, it's taken
just
77 years. What do you think we're going to gain by changing it?
Well, I think that we gain that guarantee that it always remains that special. We always gain, or we also gain something that's more beneficial for up-and-coming businesses. Or, if we look at a map, let's say you're visiting Pocahontas County, you want to figure out where to go. You're visiting West Virginia. When you look at a map of places to visit, right now the highlighted areas might be up at Canyon Valley or somewhere else. That we want for the first time ever there to be this highlighted spot. Oh, it's a national monument. Oh, yeah, I'm going to go there. It's a national monument in Pocahontas County. That means a lot, to businesses. I mean, there's business owners here today who understand the marketability and the value of that designation, and saying that, that's right now it's like this package of really special things, but it's not packaged in one very marketable way. So that's what we believe is the real tourism benefit there.
Do you think Pocahontas County will profit by this?
I think it can. I really think it can. And I think we looked at a lot of other research, a lot of other monument communities, and the research consistently shows that a monument can be economically beneficial to host communities. Well, yeah.